Welcome back to the program. The first thing that I want to say is this. That's what I want to say first and foremost before we talk about anything else. In all of my years, I have never, not even once, seen an Oval Office talk, speech, whatever you want to call it, involving heads of states, presidents, and another head of state that devolved into what took place today. It was shocking. Clearly, it was shocking. But President Trump did exactly what he should have done. And Zelinsky is nothing more than an infinitesimal, pissant prick, communist scumbag. That's what he is, okay? And what he did in our Oval Office can never be forgiven. As a matter of fact, not only should there be regime change in Ukraine, but he should never be invited back because of what he did. President Trump and J.D. Vance handled themselves perfectly. This little dirtbag, fake comedian asshole thought that he was going to come into the United States and bully President Trump. I don't think so, okay? He was absolutely horrific. And I'm glad President Trump threw his ass out because that's what he deserved. And how dare that little Ukrainian piece of garbage roll his eyes at President Trump. Now, if you saw the entire press conference, you may know what I'm talking about. There was a point in an exchange in which Zelinsky was having a conversation and they were going back and forth. It was getting heated, and President Trump cut him off and said, wait a minute. No. I'm not George W. Bush. I'm not Barack Obama. I'm not Joe Biden. You know, everybody respects me. And you know what that asshole did? He went like that. He rolled his eyes at the leader of the free world. And when this idiot says that he doesn't want to do a ceasefire unless there's, quote, security or a guarantee of security, you know what he's talking about? He's talking about this. That's all he's talking about. He's not even talking about, at least at this point, the military. He's talking about the money. He has played the last president, the fake president, like a fiddle for years. He has played Jake Sullivan. He has played Tony Blinken. He has played everybody at the State Department. And they just rolled over for him. Well, guess what? We ain't rolling over anymore. $350 billion is not enough for this money laundering scumbag? Unbelievable. And then, just like a good liberal always does in a negotiation, they move the goalposts. They move the goalposts. They move the goalposts. They had a deal for mineral rights. And what does this little prick come in and say? Well, if you want the mineral rights, you're going to have to keep the money coming. Yeah? Fuck you and Ukraine, okay? That's what I say. So President Trump handled himself beautifully, and my goodness was I impressed with J.D. Vance. I actually thought at one point President Trump might have been a little annoyed that J.D. Vance kind of took over and outshined him for a little bit, but of course he knew his place as well as the vice president and not the president, at least not now. It was a very interesting and terse exchange. And Zelinsky came out with his thumb up his Ukrainian ass. Okay? That's what he did. That's what he got. And now I'm hearing that even though the oligarchs and all that and other people and NATO and all that are saying that we support him and everything else, look, when you lose the warmongering pig, Lindsey Graham, you're pretty much done, okay? So what I think next in my opinion, is that he will be stepping down, or if not stepping down, he will be taken out. Okay? He will be taken out. Probably through his own people or possibly Russia. I was so upset after watching this, okay? So upset that I went to X, and this is what I wrote right here. I gotta just find it because I've been pretty busy today with lots and lots of memes. That's the one good thing about it. There is a million memes out there of him being thrown in dumpsters. There's one from, what was the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? I can't think of the name of it right offhand. But anyway, the scene with the midget tossing, well, they have his face on there and they throw him out there. It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, so Trump grabbed Zelinsky by the pussy today, okay? That's basically what happened. He thought he could come in there and be a tough guy? No. President Trump is the tough guy, okay? Unbelievable. Let's see, where was it? Here it is. This is what I wrote today. Finally found it. I had so many memes that I was putting out. In my entire life, I have never seen a head of state, as I started with, sit in the Oval Office with a smug, elitist face like this infinitesimal little pissant Zelinsky. I kind of clean it up these days because, you know, I want to move past my old rhetoric, and so I'm still myself, but I'm cleaning up the language a little bit. And then I said, what a commie left-wing, ungrateful idiot. When President Trump said, you may not respect Bush, Obama, or Biden, but you will respect me, that's when he rolled his eyes. Russia and Putin are not the problem. It was Russia, Russia, Russia is what they would say, but it was never Russia, Russia, Russia. It was Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. It was Ukraine that tried to steal the election from President Trump and frame him. It was Ukraine that has the 35, 40 different biolabs, terrorist biolabs in Ukraine. And of course, it was Ukraine and the people at the embassy that were shredding documents. It was Ukraine that helped the Biden regime cover up the crimes of the Biden crime family. Now, to all those brainwashed, stupid, idiot Americans out there that were so brainwashed and dumb that you were putting Ukraine flags on your lapel or changing your social media avatar to the flag of Ukraine, don't you feel stupider now? You should, okay? The Democratic Party and the Rhino establishment Republicans, those are the ass clowns that are responsible for this war. It is a miracle, and I've said this before, that Putin has not taken an approach in war to wipe out Zelinsky. He's actually been pretty patient and reserved after the 8-year onslaught from the Democrat Party and every single Rhino establishment Republican screaming that, you know, Russia and Putin are evil and Putin is a dictator and Hitler and everything else. They have demonized Russia for over 8 years. So they are a big part of all of this garbage. This Zelinsky clown is the only impediment to peace. The only impediment to peace is Zelinsky, okay? Now, if this crybaby, commie scumbag isn't removed from his position, and remember, he suspended elections so that he could be a little dictator, right? He has done everything from going after opposition parties. He's taken over opposition, social media. He's taken over opposition, blogs and video posts and all these things that he has done. He is the problem. The problem is not Vladimir Putin. The problem is Zelinsky, okay? And here's what I'm saying. This clown is the only thing in the way from peace. So I think it's time for the full force of the new intelligence agencies, the new FBI, the new CIA, not the old ones that we could never trust, but the new ones. It is time for them to figure out an extraction plan. Okay? Let's go into Ukraine and let's secretly take this guy out. Now, what I mean by take him out is I don't mean kill him. I mean take him out. Arrest him, get him out of the country so that somebody else can take over the country. Bring back their constitution and allow elections once again. That's what needs to happen. And if we don't do that, or if he doesn't resign in the next 30 days, well, then I guess Vladimir Putin will just have to take care of him himself. What a disgrace. But it did show that President Trump is the leader that we all know he is. He's not going to back down. And the thing is like the left are saying, I've seen memes all over the place with President Trump with a Hitler mustache. They're calling him, Hitler and Mussolini and all this stuff. He's a peacemaker. He wants peace. He said it 100,000 times. So I don't understand these people that say that he's a warmongering, dictator. Really, did dictators throw people out of the White House for disrespecting them because they won't sign a deal to stop a war? Hello? It's unbelievable. So, again, the American public saw that, and I think that's a good thing. And President Trump actually brought that up as well. He said, I'm glad that this is happening in front of the cameras because all these dipshits that have been lied to, and they think that somehow Ukraine is innocent in this war. They're not. They are not innocent. Now, I'm not saying that Russia is completely scot-free here either. You've got problems with that. We know Vladimir Putin, former KGB agent, wants the old Baltic countries back underneath the old Soviet guard. We know that he said that the greatest catastrophe, I think is what his words were, of the last century was the fall of the Soviet Union. We know who he is. But at least he's measured. At least he isn't someone that just is going to fly off the handle and drop a nuclear bomb. But you know what? At this point, Zelinsky is putting his own people and himself in danger. So we're going to see what happens here pretty soon. But I'll make you a prediction. I think in the very, very near future, he's either going to step down or he's going to be replaced. Because we can't have this war end with this clown in control any longer. So we'll see what happens. Now, the other thing that I wanted to touch on just real quick, and I know it's kind of Hollywood and nobody really cares, I guess, about it or anything like that. But obviously, very famous, world famous actor Gene Hackman was found dead with his Oriental wife and the dog in their house in New Mexico. Now, initial reports from this were saying what? Well, it was a carbon monoxide accident, and they both died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Even the famous Dr. Biden, the medical examiner, went on Fox News, and even he said that it looks like it's going to be carbon monoxide poisoning and all of that stuff, okay? Well, it turns out that the toxicology part of the toxicology report, not the full one, because you got to find out if there's drugs in their system. That's going to take another month. We're finding out there was none. No carbon monoxide. Now that's interesting because that goes against what the quote-unquote professionals were talking about. Here is the released 911 call. This is, I think, a groundskeeper or someone that either works in this housing complex where this house is, which is it's in Santa Fe, New Mexico, so it's a very wealthy, enclave of, homes that are away from everybody else. As a matter of fact, his house didn't even have a number on it because of who he was and things like that. But what I understand is there's a gate to get into the area just to get to the house, and this guy has the gate, he's got the key and all that. He calls, because I guess he was either doing a maintenance or something, he calls 911, and here's what the call sounds like.
What is it? Emergency?
Hello, my name is the caretaker for Santa Fe Summit. I'm here about past 10,000 ways. I think we just found one deceased person inside a house. What's the address here? There's no address. I'm going to wait for you at the gate. I'm going to wait for you to please send somebody real quick.
Okay, what's going to be the address?
It's going to be down at the gatehouse. I'll meet you over there. I'll meet them over there. I'm the caretaker for the subdivision. I'm going to bring them up here.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me speak with the paramedic.
Thank you.
1 second.
Damn.
Are you with the patient now?
Yeah, I'm over at their property. There's no address here. So I have to meet the ambulance or the police, whoever, down at the gatehouse. I'll bring them up here.
Okay. How old is the patient?
I have no idea.
You don't know? Okay, that's fine. Is the patient a male or a female?
A female and a male, probably. I don't know, sir. Just send somebody up here real quick.
Okay. Are they awake?
I have no idea.
Are they breathing?
I have no idea. I'm not inside the house. It's closed. It's locked. I can't go in. But I see them. She's laying down on a block from the window.
Do they appear to be awake or alert?
No. It's not.
Okay. Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody up here really quick.
Okay, my units are underway, okay?
I'm sorry?
My units are underway right now.
Okay, I'll meet them down at the gatehouse because they might not have a code.
You don't have like the actual address of the house or where this person lives?
I have no idea. There's no address. There's a reason why for that.
He says there's no address, there's a reason why for that. So obviously he knows, I think, the guy who's making the 911 call, I think he knows it's Gene Hackman, or he knows that it's somebody that is famous or important because maybe this entire area doesn't have numbers on the homes for that reason. That we don't know. We can just, guesstimate on that. But here's the important part coming up. Listen.
Okay.
Where was the rest of it? They said, hang on, let me see if I can find it.
Down at the gatehouse because they might not have a code.
You don't have like the actual address of the house or where this person lives?
I have no idea. There's no address. There's a reason why for that.
Okay, so one of the things that we found out from that wasn't on this clip, which I thought it was when he said that he looked in. Remember, he wasn't in the house. He was out the outside of the house, and he was looking into the house. He looked into the house, and he could see a male and a female on the ground laying there. But what he also said was there was pills all over the floor. Now that's important because if there's no carbon monoxide, which is what the initial thought was, why were there pills all over the floor? It gets even more interesting. Listen to the sheriff. Is it in this article or is it in the next one? It's in the next one here. Listen to this. Not that one. Here it is. This is, who is this? Andrew, what's his name? Mendoza, I think his name is the sheriff. Listen to what he says right here.
An autopsy was performed. Initial findings noted no external trauma to either individual. The manner and cause of death has not been determined. The official results of the autopsy and toxicology reports are pending. Just today, I spoke to Dr. Jarrell, the pathologist from the New Mexico Office of the Medical Investigator. This was at 2:00 p.m. today. She advised that there were several tests that were submitted to be expedited. She revealed to me the following information. Both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide. An initial interrogation was conducted of Mr. Hackman's pacemaker. This revealed that his last event was recorded on February 17th, 2025. I was advised that a more thorough investigation will be completed.
So that's quite a while ago. So that means that he died on February 17th. and he was found, was it, I think yesterday? I think it was, or today? No, I think it was yesterday. So he was found, on the 27th. So he was dead for 10 days. And they actually said that the bodies were mummified in another report that I heard about. So what happened here? Is this a situation where he was 95 years old? Don't get me wrong, that's old. He could have just had a heart attack and died, or maybe he was struggling and he grabbed his pills and he was trying to open his pills to help himself, and then he fell down on the ground and he died. Like, we just don't know. But it is odd. And why is it that they're both dead? If there's no carbon monoxide, which obviously if there was, that probably would have wiped out the whole house, because they also said that they found the dog dead. Where are we going with this? There's all kinds of weird things that have happened. You got no carbon monoxide. You got pills all over the floor. You got 2 people dead and a dog. I mean, and then they're going to rule that there's no foul play and that there's no signs of violence or anything else. This needs to be investigated a lot further. I don't exactly know what happened here. Maybe he said, you know what, I'm 95, I'm done, I'm checking out. And the wife said, you know what, I'm done too because I don't want to live without you, honey. I don't know. Who knows? But all I do know is there's more to this story. So when we find out more, trust me, I will bring that up as well. Now, the last thing, well, actually, one more thing and then the last thing. There's been an announcement, and I'm really happy about this. This guy was awesome. He was such a great guy, such a great patriot, such an amazing interview. Do you guys remember combat veteran Hung Kao, who was on my show? And I interviewed him, great guy. I endorsed him. And from that endorsement, he was running for the Senate in Virginia. From that endorsement, he was attacked by the left, and they used my endorsement to attack him. And he ended up losing, and I don't know if it was because of me or not, but I felt bad, of course, at the time, and I still feel bad because it's sad that they took things from 4 or 5 years ago and they used it to attack him because I endorsed him live on the air, okay? Anyway, long story short, he is now going to be the Undersecretary of the U.S. Navy. President Trump has just tapped him for that position. So, in the end, I think that's probably better than a U.S. Senator. Wouldn't you agree? I think he's going to win in the end. So, I'm happy for him. Congratulations to Hung Kao. He's going to do a great job. Okay, now let's get into what I wanted to talk about here. And honestly, this one, I don't really need anything. I actually took 3 pages of notes because I really wanted to be as accurate as I could. So yesterday during the Full Throttle Thursday show, we discussed the situation with Matthew Tuttle. This was the January 6er who was killed by a police officer in what looked like a routine stop in Indiana. We all discussed it and we all talked about it. And at the time, it seemed excessive force, right? Well, maybe it still was. But obviously, the 10-minute video was sent to me. Pam, thank you very much. And I took a look at it, and I watched the entire thing. The reason I'm not doing the whole thing is because there's a lot of silent parts in it, okay? A lot of silent parts. There's a lot of talking, too, obviously, but there's a lot of silent parts, and so I didn't want to kind of, jump through all that. My goodness, I think I had, 2 or 3 dogs on me all at once, and now there's hair on my nose. Anyway, so let's talk about it. So here's in the full video, here's what happens, okay? So Matthew Tuttle gets pulled over, and the cop comes up to the car and he says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" He goes, "No, I don't." He goes, "Well, you were doing 70 miles an hour in a 55. He goes, "Okay." So then out of nowhere, Matthew Tuttle, the cop doesn't even ask for his driver's license yet. He automatically says, "Oh, hey, just to let you know, I don't have a license. My license is suspended, and I'm driving, the car." So the officer asks him, "Well, where were you coming from?" He said, "Church and the cemetery." And I think he said something about his mom passed. He was visiting his mother or something of that nature. Then, after that, the cop asks him, how many times have you been caught driving without a license, a suspended license? To which Matthew Tuttle says, all time, like my whole life, which is kind of a weird response because that shows that you do something habitually, right? And he goes, well, I don't know. He goes, how about recently? He goes, well, I don't know. I'm really not sure. He goes, being that I'm a January 6er, I was getting ready to get a license, but I couldn't get one yet because I was, incarcerated and all that other stuff. So then he notices there's a dog in the car. He says, what kind of dog is that? And he says, it's a Basenji. And then from that point, he says, okay, please sit here, stay still, and I'll be right back. So then the cop obviously runs the plates, and he calls for animal control on his, thing, whatever. And then about maybe 4 or 5 minutes later, he's playing around in the car with the police, cruiser, whatever. And then all of a sudden, a fax, literally like the old days, a fax comes in, and it's a document. And he's reading the document. And then the officer walks back to Matt's vehicle and asks him to shut off the engine and step out of the vehicle, to which Matt says, am I under arrest? And the officer responds, please step out of the car and I will explain everything to you. Matt then, of course, obliges and he turns the car off and he comes outside and he's talking to the officer. The officer then says, today you are going to get off with a verbal warning for the speeding. However, this document here shows that you are a, quote, habitual traffic violator. Matt then replies, I know. Officer then says, this means that you are at a felony status for driving while suspended. The officer then says, so today you are going to have to come with me. To which Matt replies, I can't, please, no, I can't. It's a violation of my parole that I'm waiting for. The officer cuts him off and he says, Matt then says, can I get a ride instead? The officer then cuts him off and he says, there is no leeway with felonies in the state of Indiana. If it was a misdemeanor, I might be able to work something out. Then the officer says, what I'm going to do, this is where things got crazy. What I am going to do is I'm going to put these papers down for a second, and I need you to turn around. And as soon as he says that, he didn't even get really a chance to say, put your hands behind your back. You hear it. But as soon as he says you're going to need to turn around, he does turn around and then he sprints towards the driver's side to get into the vehicle. At this point, again, Matthew, knowing that if he's arrested on this felony, his pardon is likely going to be revoked, which means he's going to have to go back to jail. He turns around, he runs towards the car. And here's the last part. The officer runs after him and says, don't you do it, buddy, really loud. The camera goes invisible for a while as they're running. And then you can hear the audio. Matt says, I'm going to shoot myself. Then the officer, you hear, the officer's gun is out. You don't even really see it. It happens so fast. The officer's gun is out and shoots him 5 times, hitting him 4 times, probably killing him instantly, especially the one in the heart, right through the aorta. The other one, he went through his neck and into his brain. Another one hit his shoulder, and another one, I guess, hit his thumb. So last night we talked about, well, maybe the thumb was a defensive wound, but it really doesn't seem like it now. Then at that point, the video just ends, okay? So you don't really see inside the car. You don't know what happened to the dog, but I'm sure the dog was okay because he wasn't trying to shoot the dog. And then the video just ends. So it's a really tragic situation. You can look at it a couple of different ways. I would say, number one, this guy was a habitual offender of driving without a license. He just came out of jail on a pardon from President Trump, or he was in the process right there. He just got it, or whatever it was. I think he said he was waiting on the paperwork of it, or something of that effect. And I don't know. I mean, you know, he didn't seem to be angry. He didn't seem to be mean-spirited or anything else. The officer didn't. Matthew Tuttle didn't. It looked like a normal, sane, low-volume type of conversation that just escalated into hell, basically. And I think the kid panicked. He said to himself, holy cow, I just got pardoned. I just spent all this time in jail, and now I'm going to get my pardon revoked, and I got to go back to jail. And you know what? Something snapped. He couldn't handle it. And he ran to his car. He tried to get away. Why the officer shot him 5 times, I have no idea. And here's the other thing. We talked about this last night. If someone says they're going to kill, if they say they're going to kill themselves, well, you're pretty sure, right, that there's a gun in the car. So, okay, maybe you pull your gun out, but don't you kind of get into a position of safety, maybe away from your car? And what happens if you hear a gun, a gunshot go off? Well, then the guy killed himself. But why would you then exacerbate the situation and say, oh, you're going to kill yourself? Well, here, let me do it for you. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So from that standpoint, yes, it seemed like excessive force, without a doubt. But then again, you have to look at the entire situation of how the whole thing transpired. But you know who's really, really guilty of all of this? It's Joe Biden, who stole the election. It's Merrick Garland, who put these innocent protesters in a jail cell for 4 years and overcharged them with felonies that should have been, if anything, if they really wanted to make a point, they could have given them all, $500 trespassing tickets and let them be on their merry way. But it was never about that. It was about control. It was about how dare you challenge us, the federal government, for us stealing your vote away from you. It was the arrogance of the intel community, okay? It was the Capitol Police, the aggressors in the situation. It was the embedded BLM. It was the embedded Antifa. It was the Democrats. It was Nancy Pelosi. It was the Rhino establishment Republicans. It was the prostitutes in the media with the false narrative of a, quote, insurrection. I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. How many people were charged with U.S. Code 182383? 0. That's insurrection. Why? Because even these crooked bastards and these judges and prosecutors knew that what happened on January 6th did not meet the threshold of an insurrection. And again, how did the doors open? Well, I think we know. From the inside. And remember, an insurrection, you have to have guns. You have to be armed. So the whole thing was bullshit. This kid would not have been locked away for years if it wasn't for the stolen election and the scumbag FBI and judges and prosecutors. That's the reality of the situation. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.